Good evening all, I'm Aditi Lamba with the Tuesday night edition of South Asian News. Welcome to Vision of Asia, the voice of our community. We are coming to you from our studio located in New York City. Here's what's happening tonight in the coronavirus pandemic. The nation is nearing 3 million cases with at least 132,000 deaths, with global cases surpassing 11.6 million with at least 538,000 deaths. In the United States, COVID-19 cases across the South and West are increasing rapidly, with at least 31 states now seeing an increase in new cases, and 24 states have now paused their reopening plans, with states such as Florida, Texas, Arizona, and California continue to present quite a spike in their cases. Florida has set a new record for most COVID cases in the United States in a single day this past weekend, with the state now surpassing 200,000 cases. The state is seeing a 90% increase in its hospitalizations. In Arizona, the state has surpassed 100,000 cases, with reports showing people younger than 44 years old getting the novel virus. With increase in cases, there has been a nationwide concern now about exceeding hospital capacity. Today, top health official Anthony Fauci said that the rapid increase in cases is not the second wave and that we are still currently in the first wave of the coronavirus. So if you are in the States seeing a rise, please remember to stay inside, practice social distancing, wear a mask, and also wash your hands. Stop the spread of this disease. Also, reach us on events@itvgold.com if you are a medical worker on the front line in these states with surging cases or an essential business. We look forward to presenting your voice and your story here. With that, the show tonight covers much on the ongoing themes of systemic racism and the Black Lives Matter movement, along with opinions on India-China military tensions and its impact on South Asian Americans. Let's begin by taking a look at the headlines. Virtual discussion on anti-Black racism and Black Lives Matter movement, New Jersey. International Yoga Day 2020, Wellness and Mindfulness during COVID-19, New Jersey. Indian American community organizes Times Square protest on India-China tensions, New York City. It's time for a short break on Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. We'll be back shortly. And welcome again, I'm Aditi Lamba and this is Vision of Asia Tuesday night episode. Let's begin the episode taking a look at our ongoing discussion on systemic racism, anti-Blackness, police brutality, and the responsibility of brown and Black communities, with over a month of protests and panels since the death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police officer. Bringing forth an understanding of the role of South Asian community amidst these nationwide demonstrations, recently a virtual panel discussion was organized by Inspiring South Asian American Women, ISAW, along with the New Brunswick chapter of NAACP and the Cherry Hill African American Civil Association in New Jersey. Featuring key officials and members of the organization, the virtual event reflected upon the changes needed in the system and community education and awareness of racism and its impact on Black and brown communities in America. Anti-Black racism stands for prejudice, stereotypes, or discrimination that is directed at the people of African descent and is rooted in history and experience of enslavement. Let's see how the panelists in the virtual event address these issues and their take on what the community needs.
Thank you. Why this is so important to me is because each generation of African Americans go through the same types of things. And so I don't want my grandchildren or my great grandchildren to have to go through the discrimination and anti-Black racism that my great grandparents, my grandparents, my parents, and myself, and also my children have gone through. My earliest experience with anti-Black racism was as a child of 7, and my father was in the Army. We traveled, and so during my travels, I inadvertently, my sister and I went into a bathroom that was not, it was said ladies, but it was meant white ladies. And my father had to intervene to stop a white man from coming in to get us. And I don't want you to think that my experience is unique. There are thousands of stories just like mine. So this is important to me because we want to see how we can change the current situation moving forward. Thank you.
The part I would like to focus on the most, though, was the part where I went into the business world in the 60s as a Black woman. And that was a very challenging period of time to enter the workforce as a Black woman, because as Kathleen has already mentioned, the assumption was that our abilities were not up to par with others in terms of what positions that we could fill. But what Kathleen hasn't mentioned about African Americans is that we've always been driven to be more than expected. So if 90% was expected, we gave 100. If 100 was expected, we had to give 100 because there's nothing greater. So as a result, early on in my professional career, I was put in a position of authority. And that was the first introduction into the power structure of this country that I went through. And it made a very lasting impression on me.
We moved to New Jersey in 1974. And it was in New Jersey, it's the first time anyone referred to me using the N-word. And for me, it was such a blow because I had been raised that was one of the dirtiest words that somebody could use. And so it was a really big shock for me. And then later when I was older, visiting one of my cousins in Western Pennsylvania and hearing someone refer to him using that word. And then having my little cousin who was 12 at the time, I was about to go crazy on this person. And my cousin was calming me down. And when we went to the car, he said, that happens here. I'm used to it, and to know that my little 12-year-old cousin was feeling that way. And then having him say, it's worse for people who are actually Black. And that was so profound for him to know, hey, somebody could categorize us this way, but there is a complete difference in impact and reality for him as a little brown boy versus a friend of his who might actually be Black. And so those are like my personal experiences with others.
Let's now take a look at the popular occasion of International Yoga Day 2020 that is being hosted by several South Asian American organizations across the nation. With COVID-19 pandemic impacting nations worldwide, this year saw the theme Yoga at Home and Yoga with Family, celebrating the 6th International Yoga Day, highlighting benefits of yoga, especially during the stressful time period with this pandemic. On that, we have tonight highlights from a celebration of International Yoga Day coming in from New Jersey. The event featured yoga and breathing techniques and other to boost immunity and wellness, while also focus on meditation and mindfulness during this pandemic. Here are the highlights.
Namaste, my name is Jannavi Ganesh. I'm a volunteer of HSS, Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangh. So I'm very fortunate to be part of this event, International Yoga Day. We've been doing it for the last 6 years, and HSS has a very big presence in the United States and many other countries as well. So as a youth in this country, I've realized how important yoga is, especially during this time as many are suffering from mental health disorders and illnesses currently in the quarantine, and how stress and anxiety levels have increased. So yoga and meditation definitely helps and reduces such things. And I've also had an interest in natural sciences, so I've realized how important yoga is in helping other illnesses and ailments and diseases.
Namaste. My name is Tara and I'm from the Gayatri Parivar, from related to Shanti Kunj Haridwar. We are working under the divine guidance of Shraddheya Dr. Pranav Pandya ji and Shraddheya Shail Baba ji. With their divine guidance and the guidance of the Guru Satta, Shri Pandit Shri Ram Sharma Acharya and Bhagwati Devi Sharma ji, we are able to run a beautiful center at the Piscataway, New Jersey. We are running this center to represent not just New Jersey, Piscataway, but also New York, Maryland, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. So it's a tri-state center. It's a beautiful Pran Pratishtha Sthapna was done with the divine hands of Dr. Pranav Pandya ji. At this center, we run all the Indian festivals, also Bal Sanskar Shala to nurture the youth from the beginning as they are small and young, so they grow up in a healthy and happy yuva. We also run all the seva through the centers. We also distribute a lot of food services to hungry in last couple of months through here. So it's a very beautiful center, and today the International Day of Yoga event were established here at the Gayatri Chetna Center. So I hope you enjoyed this beautiful event, and hopefully you will come here and visit us at the Gayatri Chetna Center, Piscataway. Namaste.
So namaste everybody. My name is Vijay, and Vihangam U is a meditation organization. So all our asanas are also something that gears up towards the meditation. So first thing first, when you do namaste, we bow down in this pose. What is the significance of it? Because only when your mind is made up with that sense, then you get the benefit of namaste. So the moment you put both hands together and bow down, who you are bowing down to? You are going down to the divinity that is inside everybody. So when you keep this very sense awake in your heart, that you are being witnessed all the time with the divinity who you are going down to, then all your actions will always be pious. The peace and harmony by yoga will be a reality if you live with this essence in your mind. You're going down in namaste to the divinity who is watching all your actions all the time. What else happens when you put both hands together and bring it closer to the heart? The moment you put both hands together, the fingers matching exactly at the tip, then immediately your body and mind come into balance. You will immediately feel the flow of an energy, an aura, which will be very calming, very peaceful, very, very humble. This is a divine Namaste Mudra.
It's time for another short break on Vision of Asia. Voice of the Community will be right back. Welcome back. This is Vision of Asia, the South Asian news segment, and I am Aditi Lamba. Much has been said about the ongoing military tension between India and China, who have been locked in a border dispute for 8 weeks in eastern Ladakh region. India says that Chinese troops have intruded across the line of actual control or ceasefire line separating the two armies. The situation deteriorated recently when 20 Indian soldiers died after the Indian and Chinese troops clashed in the Galwan Valley. Since then, both the countries have agreed to a disengagement of their troops on the disputed Himalayan border. This is happening amidst coronavirus pandemic, which is ravaging both the nations. Here in New York City, a protest demonstration saw Indian American community and leaders gather at the Times Square, demanding protection and respect for Indian troops while sharing their opinions on ITV Gold about the escalated tension between India and China. Here is the story.
Depart India, we are one! We are one! We are one! Depart India, we are one!
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਇਹ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦਾ ਆਤੰਕ, ਇਹ ਆਤੰਕਵਾਦੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਿੱਬਤ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ। ਹੁਣ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਤੰਕ ਮਚਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਪੈਰ ਰੱਖਿਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਦੀ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੋਟਲ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਪੀਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦਾ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਬਾਈਕਾਟ ਕਰੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲੀ ਮਾਰੋ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲੀ ਵੀ ਮਾਰੋ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਚਾਈਨੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਾਈਕਾਟ ਕਰੋ।
Boycott! Made in China! Boycott! Made in China! Boycott! Made in China! Boycott! Made in China! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Boycott! Vande Mataram! Vande Mataram!
हेलो नमस्ते एवरीवन। आज का जो दिन है एक अलग है। यहाँ पे जो इनह्यूमैनिटी जो चाइना में होता है उसके अगेंस्ट सभी लोग आए हैं। तिब्बत के अगेंस्ट जो करते हैं वो सारा चीज़ आज यदि वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को चाइना ने टाइमली यदि बता दिया होता कोविड का तो शायद ये सिचुएशन नहीं होता। तो इस चीज़ को वी ऑल कंडेम दैट चाइना शुड कम एंड सपोर्ट द ह्यूमैनिटी and don't be inhuman.
My name is Sudim Sangmo. I'm living the Tibetan and I'm living in New York City. Today I'm here to support our Indian people. We are totally condemned Chinese aggression on India. We must boycott Made in China. We are one. Tibet independence is India's security. We should be one. We support each other.
When the world is battling this coronavirus since last 6 months, it is really shameful the naked aggression of China against its neighbor, which is absolutely unacceptable. China has to understand they want to dominate the world. They want to destroy USA. They want to destroy India. China has to understand that this is not acceptable. This is India of 2020 under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Modi. This is not India of 1962. This India is economically strong, number 3 economy in the world, and militarily strong. China must have already realized that they have to pay the very heavy price for this aggression. What they have done on June 15, our Jawans have already replied. Let me tell you very clearly, the lives of our soldiers will not go in vain. We will give a befitting reply to China. For that, the world has to come together.
Tibetan Women Association President Tashi Chudun, New Jersey. We are here to support Indian people here since we are the longest, since His Holiness Dalai Lama said, we are the longest guests in India for 60 years and we've been eating Indian rice and dal as His Holiness Dalai Lama said. And now we are supporting India because they are our biggest supporter as well as they are like our parents. Let us live in India. Now we are in America and we can take that Chinese things doing in at the border. जो कुछ भी भारत के border में चल रहा है, India border में चल रहा है, वो India and तिब्बत की मसला है, उसमें China has nothing to do with it. So I, being a Tibetan president, Tibetan Women Association, New Jersey, urge everybody to help and raise your voice. And China lie, people die. That's what it is. Thank you very much.
Community update. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has announced that international students who are pursuing degrees in the United States will have to leave the country or risk deportation if their universities switch to online-only courses. This move may affect thousands of foreign students who came to the United States to attend these universities. Here is attorney David Nachman on ICE and its announcement.
And probably the biggest one is how can they do such a thing at a time like this? Obviously, we're in unprecedented times, and here SEVP, which is a subdivision of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which probably tells you a lot, which is a subdivision of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, has dealt up this new policy with very little notice to the general public. So first of all, the question comes, can this be done? And the answer is this is an administrative policy, and policy regulations can be implemented by the executive. Really, it becomes a question of whether or not this should go through the formal rulemaking process as is laid out under the Administrative Procedures Act. So that's something that, of course, is ripe for litigation and something that we're maybe going to see happen, namely litigation, within the next several days or even several weeks. How does this policy impact Indian students? Well, basically, those Indian students who are at academic institutions where they're all of a sudden going to a full online program are going to need to make immediate adjustments or accommodations. And so the first way in which they need to look at it is that they may need to start looking at other programs where there are not, where the program is not 100% online. Of course, what we would strongly recommend is that anyone who's affected by this policy immediately reach out for DSOs or ISOs at their academic institutions if they're affected by this, and to speak to them to see whether or not some type of an accommodation may be made to the academic schedules in the universities and the colleges, so that they would be able to circumvent this policy, which means basically that the program is not going to a fully, a full online program, but that maybe there's some adjustment that can be made for international students so that part of their program would be able to be done by way of an in-person with social distancing type of an accommodation. Next question that we're getting is, of course, is it legal for them to do this? Well, again, it probably is legal from the perspective that the executive has the ability to promulgate regulations. However, and as we know from the recent Supreme Court decision upholding DACA, we know that where DACA was allowed to be able to stay in the law, the Supreme Court justices focused on the fact that there was a violation of the Administrative Procedures Act, and also there was big focus on this issue of what's called forbearance. And so we can see these two issues really coming to the forefront also in the event that some type of a challenge by way of a restraining order would be brought, under the circumstances for this particular rule. We believe that this policy may have its genesis in the development or the roots of the SEVIS, which obviously found its way into the law following 9/11. So it's our guess that the government is going to use some kind of a national security type of argument to defend its ability to implement this type of a program. Our attempt to do workarounds for this type of a policy will be to discuss with academic institutions and with their higher ups the possibility of implementing some type of an accommodation schedule or probably a number of credits that might be available to international students through in-person education so that they can circumvent the rigidness of this policy. So yes, we were definitely dealt up a surprise. Certainly, what we see here is a situation where, pardon the expression, but we were kicked while we were down. And we are going to work with our professional organizations, along with the National Association of Foreign Student Advisors, and also along with the American Immigration Lawyers Association, to see what we can do to circumvent the onerousness of this policy. Hello, my name is David Nachman, and I'm one of the managing attorneys at the NPZ Law Group, Nachman, Fawani, Zimochek, and we have offices located in New Jersey and also in New York.
And this wraps up our show for the night. Remember to send us your suggestions and get your voices and organizations on our show. Email us on events@itvgold.com or follow us on Facebook @itvgold. You can also now subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch many of our popular shows for free. Thank you for joining us tonight from Queens, New York. This is Vision of Asia, and I am Aditi Lamba. Take care and be well.